Rob Frankel is a radio host, consultant, columnist, and branding expert. In fact, he has written this book on the subject, The Revenge of Brand X. Rob, welcome to Making It. We appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you.
First of all, let's talk about branding. A lot of people get into business, they don't know what it is, why it works. Can you tell us about that?
Well, getting into business without branding is suicide. If people don't know why they should choose you as opposed to somebody else, you're out of luck.
So it's just like your very first step, you've got to do it.
Sure. As a matter of fact, the brand belongs in your business plan. I tell a lot of my clients, first decide who and what you want to be, and that'll help determine and make your business plan a lot more successful.
Let's talk about the steps of branding and coming up with a real plan for your business.
Well, I'll tell you, believe it or not, the first thing that you got to keep in mind is deciding what you don't want to be and how you don't want to be like everybody else. Differentiation is really, really important. The second thing is making sure that you can articulate that in a compelling and a memorable way, which sounds really easy but is incredibly difficult.
Can we talk about logo and a motto for a company and how that all really brings about an image? Tell us how those work.
Well, interestingly enough, a lot of people think that's all that branding is. It's just a logo and a name and a tagline.
Mm-hmm.
Fact of the matter is that a brand is more than just a tag and a logo, just like you're more than who you are and how you look. There's much more to you. In the same way, there's much more to any business. The logo is just a visual representation of what that brand personality would be.
So when you said before at the very beginning to think about what you don't want to be, you really have to define it very, very clearly, right?
Oh, you have to really articulate it. And believe me, in this age of lawyers where everybody tries to say nothing and get away with it,
right,
it becomes really tough.
Right, you cannot be vague on this one.
No.
Okay, now let's talk about, in your book, Revenge of Brand X, you list 10 laws of branding. What are those?
Well, branding, like I said, is the most misunderstood concept in all of marketing. But there are some specific things that you can do that will really let you know if you've got a good brand or not. My favorite happens to be Frankel's sixth law, which is the success of a brand varies directly to your ability to lead, which basically comes down to, if you're not willing to lead, how can you expect anybody else to follow?
Right. Okay, give us a couple more.
How about this? Brands are not about you. Brands are for them, the people out there that buy. You already know why your company's so great. So does your mother and your employees. Mm-hmm. It's for the people who don't know your company. That's what the brand has to communicate.
It's almost like dating, you know? You have to go out there.
Everything's almost like dating. Yeah. Actually, you know what? That's branding strategy. Plays a big part. Why should that person go out with you?
Right. Give us a couple more.
Probably the prime directive. Frankel's prime directive is branding is not about getting your prospects to choose you over your competition. It's about getting them to see you as the only solution to their problem, not your problem. It's not about what you have to sell.
Right. It's
about what they want to buy.
Let's talk about branded communities. What are those?
Branded communities are cool. They're very cool. They're a division of mine that are exclusively online, but essentially, it takes a group of users, it could be 50,000, 100,000, 4 million users, who have centered around a brand's common interest, but want to do more with it. We provide online the infrastructure so that people can talk to each other, not just about what the brand sells, but all the issues around it. So for example, if you sell kitchen supplies, people who buy kitchen supplies would be very interested in baking, cooking, recipe exchanges, things like that. It's a great way for a brand to show their interest beyond what they sell and also to generate extra revenue.
Do you think that consumers are very aware of branding, or is it so subtle, and if it's so put together, if the plan is done so well, that your consumer might not even be aware of the message?
Oh, consumers are very much aware of branding. The problem is that there are so many really bad brands out there that people tend to confuse awareness with branding.
Oh, I see.
And the fact is that if a brand has high awareness, it may have high awareness, but it may not be a very good brand.
Right, okay. Now, one of your theories is the myth of pay to play, where you suggest alternatives to increasing your prices but keeping your customers. Talk about that.
Well, more importantly than keeping your customers, also keeping profitable. When things turn bad, people have a tendency to just panic and cut prices. Instead, I tell everybody, just keep adding more value. So instead of cutting price, add another extra high margin, low cost value, and then your brand looks as if it's giving more value,
right,
and becomes more valued by your customers.
Great. Okay, great information. Thank you very much.